We bought this old crumbling cabin on an inholding in the middle of the national forest in the remote mountains of Idaho, and then restored it to its former glory. No utilities? No problem. We've got a cold rushing creek just a few feet outside the front door. And today I brought my family up. We're gonna cook some food, get a full tour. Welcome to the cabin at Palouse Meadows. Welcome to the channel. I'm Isaac, and I love creating beautiful places in nature and then telling those stories. If that's your kind of thing, hit subscribe. We're just getting started. You want to go up into the cabin? This summer, Helen, the boys, and I were up in Idaho visiting family. One warm afternoon, when there wasn't much else on the schedule, we decided to pack up and head for the mountains.
You're laughing.
Our destination? This cozy little cabin tucked away up in the wilderness, about an hour's drive from my folks' place where we were staying. The perfect spot for a mountain picnic. We arrived late in the afternoon, and the boys were more than ready to escape the car. First stop, the creek.
Should we go hit the creek?
Just a few hundred feet from the cabin, a ribbon of crystal clear spring water winds its way through the bushes and trees that shelter its banks. Our bare feet tingled with the shock of cold water, but the summer sun kept us perfectly toasty. The boys were in heaven, laughing, shrieking, and splashing water all over their parents.
Another one? Whoa, whoa!
To fully understand this place, we need to step back over a century into Idaho's history. The story of this cabin starts with a mine just half a mile up this valley. In 1892, some folks stumbled upon a very rich copper and zinc vein. And not every gold rush made the history books. This one and so many others were just tucked away up in the hills of North Idaho in this case. But to supply those miners with daily provisions, a few brave homesteaders ventured into the far reaches of the unknown, like this valley right here. The family that lived in this cabin, his name was Charles Graves. He had 8 children, he and his wife, and they made a go of the homesteading life. They built a cabin around 1901, 1902, and they built the barns, some of the other outbuildings, and then they'd grow food. They grew potatoes, and they would supply the miners. There was no mining town, and there was no railroad spur. So for 10 miles of these winding trails through the mountains, they had to haul the copper and the zinc ore from the mines on carts with mules. The homesteaders were here for a few decades. The mine picked up in the 19-teens for a few years and then dissipated. Everybody moved away. And in the 1930s, this family moved away as well. So the cabin sat here unoccupied for close to 70 years and was just crumbling until the day that we found it about 3.5 years ago. I'm one of 10 siblings, and our family grew up on a farm about an hour that way. And a few years ago, my dad found this piece of property that was an inholding in the national forest, which is rare in and of itself. But this place was special. It's a valley up in the mountains, and as we dug into the history, we found the story of this family that had homesteaded here back around 1900 to 1910. And they'd actually received a patent from the US government as part of the Homesteading Act. We found a cluster of old buildings, and in the center of that was a log cabin, the residence where they had lived. It was on the verge of collapse, but the logs themselves still had life in them. There wasn't actually that much rot, and they were hand hewn. So of course, we had to find a way to get this property and save it. We bought the property for $2,000, and a couple months later, the whole family came together and camped on site. It was Labor Day weekend, and I remember the next morning we woke up, we ate breakfast, we decided, hey, let's tackle disassembling that cabin and seeing what we can save from it. So sure enough, with all my brothers and I, we got that thing done in no time. We took the logs down. As we disassembled each log, the vision became so clear. We could pour a new foundation and reassemble this cabin back to its original glory. So that's exactly what we did. For the next 5 weeks, my brothers and I, who were working construction jobs about an hour away, would come here every day after work, if we could, and bite off a piece of the project. We insulated and chinked between all the logs, timber framed the roof, added a porch, put in new windows and trim. We dug a hole, built a little outhouse in the yard, then we put up a split rail fence, and then just like any good homesteader, we planted some trees, some ponderosas, some blue spruce, and some aspens. And 5 weeks after that day we had first disassembled it, the cabin was complete. It was such a special feeling. The whole family came back together for a celebratory picnic. We spent $39,518 all in on the project. So this is the cabin. I think it comes in right around 400 square feet, or maybe like 380. One room downstairs, and then the loft. Can you believe that this family had 8 children and they lived here? It's a little bit sobering when you think about the luxuries we're used to today. But in a sense, if you come out here and just experience this property, stay in this cabin, there's no cell coverage, there's no utilities, I think you realize it's not a bug, it's a feature. There's something about the simplicity here. It feels transportive, like you're going back in time, and that's a great feeling. I love how raw and authentic and how much character there is in this interior. You see all of the original markings and character of these logs. All we did was power wash them down, brush them a little bit. The trim is salvaged. These beams underneath the loft, the posts, every bit of this is salvaged. The only thing that's new are the windows and the doors, and of course, some concrete. And we added this cute little cherry red antique wood stove. In the winter, this place is so cozy, and you have to get up about once an hour during the night to keep it stoked because it's not very large, but it will heat this place up lickety-split. The winter might be my most favorite time to experience this. You usually have to snowmobile in because the roads getting here are not plowed. And one year, several of my older brothers and my dad and I snowmobiled in, and we stayed here for 2 nights. My mom prepared fajitas, and we roasted them, ate. The next day, played games. It was such a fun time. There's no lighting, no electrical lighting, so we have kerosene lanterns throughout the space, and we light candles, and it's a magical experience. So this is the loft. It is tight and cozy. All of these timbers are new because none of the old roof was worth saving, but it feels pretty rustic and authentic if you ask me. And it's also insulated, which helps keep it cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter. We got a pair of windows on each gable, which is awesome both for views and just letting natural light come through. We've taken the beds out for this season, but we have 2 queen beds that can fit here and here. And sometimes when we're camping, my folks will sleep in the cabin. That's the luxury suite compared to the tent camps. This is our 2x12 gangplank so that we can open and close these windows. And I love that we were able to keep this, 6-foot open space so that, first of all, heat gets up here and you can see a little bit of what's going on, especially the fire at night. You have this beautiful glow and it comes all the way up here and fills the space. Every 4th of July, our family now has a tradition where we camp out the night before, do a fireworks show. The thunderous roar is awesome because you're in a valley here. And then the next morning have a breakfast And a few days ago, this year, we took down the logs from one of the other structures that was crumbling, just like we did a few years ago with this place, and we're taking them home an hour away to put it back up as a cabin for one of my grandmothers to live in. So the story continues and the work continues. As the sun dipped below the mountain horizon at the far end of the valley, we lit a fire and gathered around the picnic table to enjoy a simple feast: grilled sandwiches, sweet corn on the cob, and ice-cold watermelon. Do you want this marshmallow? Okay.
Yum.
Well, that's a video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed Palouse Meadows. We'll see you on the next one.